Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, Films and Stuff, we are back. How are you today?
I am great, Ethan. How are you?
I am great, and it has been some time since we've done a review and a breakdown of Andor.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Are you ready to dive in?
I am, and I will just start off by saying I think your and my approach as to the review or, the recap of Andor is right. And we predicted this, or we thought this may be the case a couple episodes ago, but it looks like what they're doing is, this is 12 episodes, but I think it's really, the series, season 1 is 12 episodes, but I think it's really only 4 episodes, but each episode is a feature-length movie, like an hour and a half. If you remember, episodes 1 through 3, they seemed like one cohesive episode as a whole.
Yeah.
And if you looked at episode 4 on its own, or 5 on its own, or even 6 on its own, it was kind of a long setup for just this heist. So I think like episodes 4, 5, and 6, we should also look at as one unit.
Yeah.
And I have a sneaking suspicion that's what they're going to do for 7, 8, 9, and then 10, 11, 12.
How are you feeling about the series so far?
So in terms of pacing, I'm not a big fan.
No.
I really like what they're doing. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think the show on its own is compelling enough to try to do what they're doing. Which, when we've spoken about slow-paced shows, right? If you look at Breaking Bad, if you looked at Better Call Saul, these are shows that are incredibly slow. And to a certain extent, even Ozark. Very slow episodes, but deliberate. Every scene you see on screen, every conversation has value. And in this case, I'm struck, because these are, how long are the episodes? Like 45 minutes, 55 minutes?
Yeah.
For the sake of argument, let's round up to an hour, right? So 3 episodes, episodes 4, 5, and 6, that's almost 3 hours of content that I don't think is really 3 hours of content. I think is realistically only like an hour, maybe an hour and a half of content. So it's slow, it's deliberate, but I'm not getting that. Like, I'm not feeling the kind of tension on Andor that I saw in Better Call Saul, for example. That sequence where Andor is finally with the rebels and they're planning out the heist. They're sitting around a fireplace. They're trying to ratchet up tension. And obviously everyone's on edge. That's fine. That makes sense. But I'm not feeling it. I don't feel anything. And again, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we also know how things are going to end with Rogue One.
Yeah. I mean, I take your point. None of that is wrong. It's very valid. I think that, again, as you mentioned, it's the approach to this series. And the way that I've approached it has been, I'm really just along for the ride to learn more about how... I don't think this show is about Andor, even though it's called Andor. I feel like this is about the inception of the Rebel Alliance and how they got their start. And I've just been kind of along for the ride. And I've really been enjoying the ride, to be honest. I do agree with you that I don't feel any stress, any tension. Sometimes you watch a show and you're like on the edge of your seat because you're really nervous and you know how it's going to turn out, but you're still excited to see it turn out that way. This one for me is very low stress, but everything is teaching me something. And that, compared to Obi-Wan, is really why I like this show and why Obi-Wan disappointed me so much. Because that period where we went back and we saw, Ewan McGregor, I didn't feel like I learned anything. All I saw was a very grumpy old
ex-Jedi.
Yeah, I would say he was very grumpy and he was very alone. We saw a very young Princess Leia and she did an exceptional job of showing how precocious she was at that young age. But again, that show is about Obi-Wan, and at no point did I ever feel a closer connection to him or actually learn anything about him. I just saw that he was a really unhappy, lonely guy, and he needed, to kind of get brought back into the mix after just being like working as a dude that cut like meat or fish, for like years. So I was really disappointed by Obi-Wan, whereas I think for Andor, I'm really fascinated by all these different mechanisms that the Rebel Alliance is kind of using, to get their start. And as far as I can tell, and I hope this doesn't go into a political way, but as far as I can tell, this is Mon Mothma, Rael, and it's kind of those two who have said, hey, let's start our own movement against the Empire. And they said, look, we've been kind of paying for this out of our own pocket for a while. It's either getting expensive or we can't scale up. And the team that they got, right, that we saw, is a pretty ragtag team. I mean, there's nothing really noble about them. I mean, Vel is the leader, and she seemed very dedicated, but we even see that, she had her moments of doubt. There was Cinta, who I kind of thought was her lesbian lover, but they left her behind, which I'm not sure why or how. The dude who is a former stormtrooper died. Then there's Arvel, who was a traitor. Then there's that kid Karis. Karis was a very sympathetic figure. He seemed to be a true believer. But, I mean, he was also a little bit simple and almost too thoughtful and kind of easily impressionable. Now
I got the feeling that he was going to be the first to die.
Yeah, I mean, who are we left with? We're left with Senator Mothma, Rael, and we're left with Cassian, and we're left with Vel. That's it. Right?
Yeah, but I think we're also left with 80 million credits.
We're left with now credits.
Yeah, but so here's a question I have for you, right? So when we've watched Star Wars, with the exception, I think, really, of maybe Han, maybe Benicio del Toro's character in episode 8, when they go to the casino planet and he helps them escape?
Yep.
Did you ever think of money in the Star Wars universe?
Nope.
Like, we knew money was obviously a thing, right? Because even Han was kind of like, well, I owe Jabba this. Yeah. I'm only really in it for the money, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, Lando Calrissian got Cloud City by winning and gambling, right? But
right, and it was kind of like money was very abstract for me in Star Wars.
Yeah, there's no currency. There's never any currency exchanged.
Exactly. No, and even though we know they're called credits, we know that they exist, and obviously there's an economy at play. In the entire Star Wars universe, I think this is, realistically speaking, the first time I'm seeing money as a MacGuffin of sorts.
Mandalorian,
right? Because even Mandalorian
for me introduced it. Yeah.
You're right, but in that sense, Mandalorian introduced it, but then almost immediately gave it away because his first main mission, he wasn't doing it for money, he was doing it for Beskar.
Yeah, you're right.
He wasn't using money as a medium.
It was more of a barter. It was more of a barter.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just found it, I don't know if it kind of, I'm not saying it's set wrong with me, I just think it's a little odd that for a galaxy-wide organization like the Empire, and obviously we don't know anything about the economics, but like 80 million credits, does that seem like it's a make or break amount of money to you? I don't know.
I mean, I think part of this is that this is the blessing and the curse that you and I have, my friend. The curse is that you and I could spend hours budgeting and trying to go through the banking system and the and the mechanics of, okay, so wait a second.
Who's the central bank?
In Rogue One, they had all these ships. Does that mean that they had to use all these credits to buy the ships? Who did they buy the ships from? How do they gas them up? How do they replenish their blasters and their food supplies and this? And isn't the Empire strong enough to put embargoes and can't they track these things? And we'd get into this mix that would probably make it unrealistic that this could happen on such a scale.
Sure.
But I think that's the curse. The blessing, I think, of Star Wars is that we need to kind of get past that and just make some assumptions. But I agree. What this heist show does now is that actually it's really like an Ed Norton heist movie. And we're forced to confront issues of credits and spending money.
It's the first time I think it becomes a primary object.
Yeah. It's the first time we actually have to think about how the Rebel Alliance actually started to like create their own like organization to buy places and things and people. And I have to say, if we're just being really, I guess, pragmatic about it, I'm still not really seeing a whole lot of like anything endearing from the Rebel Alliance, right?
Oh, and more even more specifically, nothing from Andor, right? And fair enough. Look, it's realistically speaking, it's only 2 episodes in, right? Yeah. Okay, I mean, obviously 6, but going forward, I'm going to consider episodes 1, 2, 3 as one episode, and episodes 4, 5, 6 as one episode because those are cohesive storylines. Yeah. Andor still has a lot of way to go before I consider him a hero. Right? Right now, he's that bit of a practical jerk who has skills. Everyone respects him for it, but he's kind of like a big a-hole about it all.
Yeah, but he's not the worst guy in this crew. I mean, I guess
definitely not.
I like this episode, but I was really disappointed in the crew. I mean, if you're Mon Mothma and you're Rael, and you're like, hey, this is our big chance. This is the mission they greenlighted. I mean, this was a calamity. I mean, they had 7 people. They ended up with 2. And if not for a lot of luck, I mean, if they wouldn't have had Andor, 0% chance they would have pulled this off. Even with Andor, would you have greenlighted that mission? Like, not a single part of that was smooth.
I look at it this way, right? In the sense that if you and I had to go up against, let's call it Amazon, okay? Let's say Amazon is the evil empire, and Ethan and Pete are going to start a rebellion, and the first thing they need to do is capitalize.
Yeah.
So we need to go into warehouse number 7 in the middle of the deserts outside of Dubai. How do we get there, or how do we fund ourselves? This is how we're going to do it because there's, a pile of gold bricks sitting there.
Yeah.
You and I can't afford, and average people wouldn't be able to afford to hire a mercenary squad. Mercenary squads are going to be in it for cold hard cash. Yeah. So, you get whoever you can get. And in that sense, I get it. And it makes sense because also the one thing that the original movies were very good about were that the rebels were really these scrappy underdogs. They were taking anyone they could. Yeah. Right? They gave Luke, a 19-year-old moisture farmer from a desert planet, an X-Wing because they were desperate.
And a droid.
Droid.
I guess he brought R2 himself.
R2 was his, but still. Fine. But you know what I mean? Like, and let's be clear, as much as we all love Luke, in episode 4, Luke was a petulant, spoiled child for the first third of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? And by the end of it, he's leading a squadron of X-Wings towards the Death Star.
Yeah.
It's not because they're like, oh, this guy's inherently fantastic. I think it's just because, hey, we don't have choices. We need pilots.
We need bodies.
Who can fly. We just need a body to warm that seat. That for me is less of a, let's say, stumbling point. I think that what I liked was that, we learned that Skeen, the guy, our the cousin from the bear, by the way.
Yeah.
We learned that he's basically a scumbag, right? He wanted to lie about everything. He was lying about everything, and he really just wanted the money for himself, or at least half the money for himself, because I think he recognized out of all of them, Andor was the only one that would actually give him a challenge. and he wouldn't be able to kill him or escape with Andor. So it was better to try to split the gains with Andor. And you kind of see that streak of Andor who's saying, listen, I want what's due to me, and that's it. I don't want more. I don't want less. And I'm going to prevent you from taking that opportunity away from me. It harkens back to what we saw in the very opening sequences of Rogue One, where he kills that informant who says, because the mission has to come first.
Yeah.
So I like. I like the fact that the mission has to come first. And if that means I have to do something that makes me the bad guy, that's okay. I will do it. And in this case, of course, the mission wasn't about he wasn't doing it before the mission. He was just doing it to safeguard his 200,000 credits.
So, I mean, now I guess where we're going, right, is, I mean, I assume that Andor is going to be pulled back into this. Either Val is going to either convince him, or Rael will come, or he'll turn his ship around and he'll go save Val somehow, right?
I have a sneaking suspicion because as far as Luthen and Mon Mothma are concerned, the mission's a success. And they haven't shown it, but I have a sneaking suspicion that they wouldn't care if Val lived or died. I think they would just be in it for the mission because they're thinking big picture, like any general would. So for me, my feeling is that he's going to get recruited in, because I think Val gave a relatively charismatic speech at the end, right? As to why he should stick around.
Yeah.
But I think he needs a little bit more of a push, and I imagine that's what we're going to see in the next 3 episodes.
Are there any secrets here? Are there any surprises in this movie? Like, for example, let me tell you where I'm thinking. Luthen, right? Luthen has like this personal assistant.
Yep.
Is this right?
Who's also with him.
Yeah, is this personal assistant ripe for someone who is a traitor and turns on him? Is there another like informant in the Empire we're not aware of? I feel like there has to be like some mystery or some reveal or something coming, right?
I would agree with you 100%. If there's anyone who would be the backstabber, it would be her.
Yeah.
But I think that it's not there yet. I think she's still a part of the rebellion, only because if she were already a part of that, they would never have allowed the theft of 80 million credits, which is apparently a lot of money.
Yeah. Or Mon Mothma's husband or something, right?
So what I sneakingly suspect is that Mon Mothma's husband or this woman, the assistant, one of them or maybe both of them are going to turn.
What about, remember our good friend Cyril? Right, the over-enthusiastic security dude. Right,
he had to go live with his mom. He's got to have a part to play, right?
I thought he was on this path to, go back to like Empire HQ, and he was going to be this, hardliner, and he was going to like advance quickly. Then, I mean, we didn't see him in this episode at all, but in the prior episode, his mom, who seems like a real work, was kind of like, "Hey, I called in a favor to your uncle." Where do you stand on the likelihood that his uncle brings him to the Empire and he starts to advance in the Empire, or somehow introduces him to the rebels and he does a total change and he becomes a rebel? What do you think is the likelihood of either one of these happening?
For him, what I thought could happen, or what I think might happen, is I think he's going to join the rebels as a double agent. I think that he's going to start to do his own investigation of the rebels, unsanctioned by the Empire, because I think he's going to try to get whatever information that he can so that he can get on the Empire's good side and get his job back. But I think during the course of that, one of two things is going to happen. Either he's going to be found out and killed, which I don't see happening, or he's going to be found out and convinced to stay and join the good fight. And then he's going to become an officer because he'll have a lot of insight because he worked for the Empire.
Yep. I can see both of those happening. I feel like it's something is going to happen with him. We've been introduced to him too deeply for him to just remain irrelevant.
You're absolutely right. And he seems like he seems like a solid actor that way. Yeah. So I don't see them. I think it would be a waste to throw him away. Let's put it that way.
Do you think, I mean, we've had a lot of shows that we've gone back and forth on saying, For All Mankind, for example, very few characters, we get to know them all very, very deeply. How do you feel about Andor? Do we have enough characters and have we gotten to know them? I feel like every episode, which is 3, we're kind of like cycled through a group of folks, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's too early. I imagine we're going to be introduced to a lot more characters. We still haven't seen Jimmy Smits come in yet.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to see, we still haven't seen much of the Senate machinations, but we're certainly going to see more of that. So we're going to be introduced to more people there.
Mm-hmm.
My suspicion is that in terms of the rebels and like the bodies of the rebels, I think outside of Andor, maybe Vel and that kid, I think there's going to be that cast. I think is going to be relatively a revolving door. I think it's going to be the senior leadership of the Rebel Alliance that will stay on screen. There's certainly going to be more people coming on screen. I don't know who yet, but there's certainly going to be more screen.
How many episodes have we seen so far?
This is 6.
And this season is 12?
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, we're in a good place right now, right?
Yeah. We're about halfway through the season. We're literally exactly halfway through the season. Yeah. In terms of motivation, we're about halfway, I think, or maybe 3/4 of the way to convince Andor to become a rebel full time.
I'm just looking at the movie poster, because you really get a lot of information on the poster. The poster is Andor, Luthen, Mon Mothma, one stormtrooper, Cyril, Vel, looks like Luthen's assistant, a small droid, this lady who is a hardliner at the Empire, maybe 1 or 2 people that I can't make out, right? So I
imagine, by the way, if not in this next episode, but maybe in the 4th episode, which would mean 10, 11, 12, we're also going to get introduced to Alan Tudyk's K2SO.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's going to be reprogrammed and become Andor's buddy, right?
I guess so, yeah.
At some point, it has to happen in season 1 because I think it would be a waste not to have him be in season 1 because he's the comic relief character and like he's one of the best parts of Rogue One.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, I'm still happy with Andor. I think you have to accept it for what it is. It's not absolutely necessarily action. It's not providing a deep dive into canon, but I think, to be honest, I like it much more than Obi-Wan. I think compared to Obi-Wan, I was really disappointed by the lack of character development. And here, I guess this is kind of what I wanted, which was, how did this start? How did Andor get to be Andor? Why should we care about him so much, It's a
lovely view on the insight that we didn't otherwise have. Yeah. And this is, for me, one of the advantages that Disney has with the Star Wars franchise on TV, which is to say we can spend 12 hours on one season giving you deep insight and background on something that we wouldn't dream of spending $100 million to put on 2 hours of movie in the cinemas. Yep.
And you put 3 TIE fighters.
This would never be in the movies.
And you put 3 TIE fighters, number one is a little bit happy, right?
Yeah. Which is what we saw, right? We saw a couple of TIE fighters. We saw beautiful visual effects. Yeah. That escape.
Nice episode. Phenomenal.
So I think that's why I think of this as like one episode for the last 3 is because without that, it's a very dull and dry program otherwise. Whereas in this episode, we got a bunch of action and, in terms of the heist, as well as that beautiful escape sequence and a twist in the sense that Skeen was a bad guy, or not a bad guy, but like was a crooked.
He was a bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. I think you can answer this for me. Where are we in the Star Wars timeline? Like, where is Luke right now? What age is he?
Right now, Luke is 14 years old.
Okay.
He's on Tatooine.
Okay.
And he's a moisture farmer with his uncle and aunt.
How do you know that? You're just doing the math?
Yep. because he's 19 at the at episode 4, which was the year of the Battle of Yavin.
Yeah, you're right. This is 5 before
and
Yavin.
This is 5 years before then.
Yeah.
So he's got to be 14, maximum 15 years old.
Okay.
That means that Obi-Wan is probably circa 60 years old, plus minus.
So this is post Obi-Wan the series.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
This is definitely... Well, okay. So theoretically, we don't know how many seasons of Obi-Wan is going to be there. Yeah. But there could be overlap in terms of timeline, but doubtful.
So that means Leia is 14 as well. So the likelihood that she makes...
Remember, that was my worry, was that we were going to see Leia because she's an integral part of the Rebel Alliance as well. So my number one concern was we got a lot of Leia and Obi-Wan. Let sleeping dogs lie. Yeah. We don't need to see Leia here, even though in terms of timeline, she is ripe for this program because she is not just a senator, but she's also, I don't know when she becomes a senator, but she's also one of the strongest figures of the rebellion.
If Star Wars A New Hope happens when she's 19, that means Rogue One happens when she's also 19, right?
Yep.
She's a senator at 18?
Maybe earlier. Who knows? Yeah. Because remember, even her mom, Amidala was very young as she was the senator as well.
It seems like things escalated very quickly for her, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
She goes from, let's say, kind of a teenager with a rebellious streak, now at age 14, 15, 16. Suddenly, within 3 years, she goes, okay, I was a kid. Now I'm a senator. And a general. Yeah. And now I've joined the Rebel Alliance,
Yeah.
Ooh.
So again, not that I love me Princess Leia, but I would prefer not to see her in the series only because let's preserve whatever dignity she may have left as a character.
I agree out of principle, but I have to say I would like to see how she got involved. But I think that's not Andor. I think that's a different series, No,
or it might be in season 2 of Andor where, we're starting to see because we're already starting to see a little bit of the Senate side of that, right? When Mon Mothma and with Luthen.
Yeah.
At some point, Jimmy Smits has to show up and his daughter is also going to have to show up because they're both integral. So it'll definitely happen. I just think that it'll be nice if it's a very short cameo, and it'll certainly be better in the second season because we just saw a very young Leia in 2 months ago in Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
So we don't need to see more Leia now as an older person. I think you run the risk of saturation, and you also run the risk of kind of damaging the character. And that's not a knock on whoever's going to be playing her. That's just, there's only so much of Princess Leia you want to see. Exactly.
I agree. Especially over different age periods.
It's a legacy character. She is a legacy character. It's the same reason I don't want to see any more of Luke in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It's not because I don't like him or that I don't like Mark Hamill. No, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
They're legacy actors. They're legacy characters. Mm-hmm. Let's be done with them, right? Let's move on to newer, greener pastures.
I think that a tasteful way to do it is that if they kind of have a scene where, let's say Luthen comes to Mothma's Senate office, and just as he's entering or he's leaving, you see...
you get introduced to the newly elected senator.
You kind of see Jimmy Smits leaving with his daughter, and who was that? Oh, that's Senator... What's his name? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think what you want from her in terms of a cameo as a character is similar to what we saw of her as a cameo in Rogue One, which is to say she had one line, we see her beautiful glowing visage, and that was it. And that's what would be great to see in Andor as well, is we see her entering the Senate chambers or entering Mothma's office as Luthen is leaving, or, maybe as Andor is leaving or something like that. He gets introduced to the character, or she gets introduced to someone, and that's it.
So I don't think we need then a episode of Andor every week. I think we, like you said, we kind of break it down still into chunks of 3, right?
Yeah, or 2, or whatever it's going to be. I don't know. I just think mathematically it makes sense for them to continue this format, to say, okay, we've got another 2 episodes, i.e. three mini episodes conglomerated into one. So I think that's what we're going to get. Obviously, I don't know. But if that is what we get, then yes, I think we come back in 3 or 4 weeks, and then we do a recap then.
I have to say, I'm enjoying it until then.
Yeah. Say what you will, I know it comes off as me complaining that it's too slow, but at the end of the day, I prefer that they're taking it slow and easy than for them to ramrod it through. And we'll talk about that being a problem potentially with House of the Dragon in the next episode.
Oh, yeah. I'm ready.
All right. Well, that's Andor. That was episodes 4, 5, and 6, where we see the setup of a heist. We actually see the execution of the heist. And then we're left in kind of a question mark as to what Andor is going to do next and what the Rebel Alliance is going to do next. They're now capitalized. He is probably going to have his money. How does he get pulled back in? If you've got ideas, if you've got theories, or maybe, there's some extended universe books out there that I've not read, but you have, let us know what your insights are. Drop us a comment, like this video, let us know. And then, of course, tweet at us at FNS Podcast, or send us email, aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com.
Looking forward to comments, and I'm looking forward to the next episodes.
All right. Thanks so much, Ethan. That was wonderful.
Pete, thank you. And listeners, thank you. We'll catch you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, all.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.